What I am going to do, though, is return to the hideaway. Go have a look at Clive's Chambors one more time. That feels like the perfect place to end this. Now, I said previously when we wrapped up the sort of main bits of the DLC that we would go ahead and... What is this? What on earth is happening here? I would kind of give my closing thoughts in the game, and I still plan on doing that, but it looks like we got a couple of things to see here. Real quick, let's see what this stone has new to offer us. I'm just as confused as you are, Clive. I do remember the game telling me something about the Arate Stone.
What is this?
Muthos.
Ultima.
You plumbed the very abyss, yet still you hunger. We are impressed.
Is that so? Oh no, not again.
Is ours, and now it is yours. Consider it a gift from us to you, a taste of things to come.
What? Did my man just give us wings?
You still think I'm going to be your vessel?
Color me confused.
I'll take your gift then, Ultima. Just don't expect it back.
Ultimate power. Clive has been granted a portion of Ultima's essence. Attuning with Ultima not only neutralizes the elemental aspect of Clive's magic spells, but also allows access to several new divine abilities such as Voice of God, a punishing attack that sends a concentrated beam of light from the heavens to scorch the very earth. Ability details are found in the Abilities tab of the main menu. Ultima's feat Ascension allows Clive to levitate from the ground, transforming his normal attack into a sweeping assault capable of striking multiple nearby enemies at once. It also enhances his normal ranged spells into a 5-fold volley of holy arrows. In addition to pressing X allows Clive to rise up even further into the air, allowing easier access to flying enemies. Sorry.
You hear me? I will never be yours! Yeah!
This is absurd. Are you kidding me? I was kind of hoping it would just be flight. Like, hey, you can fly around the map now. You don't have to walk. You don't need ambrosia anymore. You can just zoom. Oh, we blink out of existence. Oh, I tried to dodge. Come on, big boy. Yeah, well, I mean, it wasn't a precision dodge or anything, was it? Okay, so this is your regular attack. This is the magic attack, which just bombards him with bullets, which is absurd. Can you imagine if we hadn't just gone in here and found this? Oh. Healed. We're good.
Too slow.
Ha-ha! Well, that's unfortunate. What happens since he's almost dead anyway? No, never mind. Deus Ex indeed! Enemy slain! This is absurd. How long has this been available to us? Could I have come back here and gotten this sooner? I actually don't know. Good job.
You, who ever rail against our gifts, remain all too eager to avail yourself of them. Perhaps you require more time to reflect.
All that from just dropping into the Arrate Stone. Kairos Gate is now accessible from the Hideaway's Arrate Stone. Kairos Gate is challenging endgame battle content in which Clive must delve into the very circles of hell to tackle wave after wave of familiar yet ferocious enemies. No thank you. What is this? We never figured that out. That's just gonna be like that forever. We're gonna exit the Arrate Stone. I'm not interested in fighting wave after wave of enemy in hell. It's not for me, you know? It's not my kind of content. Alright, we have a squire.
I will not forget this kindness, my lord.
Oh, Oscar.
I shall go to Eastport.
You silly boy.
As soon as the rebuilding...
So how are we doing here? Do we finally have everything on the Wall of Memories? We're still missing one object. And I don't know what it is. It's probably something you get from the Arrate Stone. It's whatever's between these two. But we do now have the Haven signboard and the First Rain Talisman, which is great. And I noticed we do also have some notices on the reading table. So we've got A New Hope. I think Unmarked is the one we already did. Leviathan's Dominant is in need of rescue. Yep. A New Hope. The Star Wars film. Clive, I pin you this note from the Witten Hall, beneath the tapestry whose image for so long haunted my dreams. Outside the air rings with Manda's soothing coos, the clangor of Pavat's hammer, and the rumble of his curses, and the whisper of the winds through the Elder's blessings. In short, almost everything is as it was before you came here. There's just one difference, the bundle that lies burbling happily beside me. One tiny difference, yet one that has changed everything. When my ancestors committed their greatest sin, it was not only Walyas who was frozen in time. For 80 years we motes of water have been bound by the spell they cast that day, unable to right their wrongs, unable to move forward. But now, like Walyas, we are released. We can live again on our own terms, where every life is equal and all equally cherished. You brought us this gift, and I have every belief that you will bring it to the world. Believe in yourself as we believe in you. Shula. Beautiful. I can think of no better way to wrap things up, folks. I can think of no better way to wrap things up. This has been a pretty good game. I enjoy it. I've said before that I'm not the biggest fan of the... sorry, I'm a bigger fan, rather, is a better way of putting it. I'm a bigger fan of Remake and Rebirth compared to this game. But I do like this game. I think it's got some fun and enjoyable characters that I quite like. We got, I believe, Gav here.
Big crystal.
One of these days. One of these days, I swear, it's gonna be me who drinks you under the table.
If by under the table you mean retching on my boots half the night, I reckon one of those days was yesterday.
Ha ha, you think you're so funny. But just wait till we crack open the bottle I left in your chambers. That stuff's strong enough to burn the horns off a behemoth.
Sounds like I'll be needing some new boots.
Okay, is that the final item added to our chamber? Oh, wait, where did he go? Did he actually go to our chamber? Now I'm curious. I was trying to wrap things up, but he's actually run off somewhere, and I don't know where he's gone to. Wait a minute, Gav, what's going on here, buddy? You got some explanations?
How's it going? What? Oh,
What a strange little bit of conversation.
about that. Oi!
It's weird that they don't dialogue these. I can't imagine it would have costed them much more to get the actors to read these lines off while they've already got them in there to do the recording session. Because they have to book them for like 4 hours, I believe is the minimum. Anyway, the game is fun. I think it's got a good story. It's got some great characters. My one criticism of the entire game is just how dour the world is. I mean, they're going for a darker game, but the sky being perpetually overcast for the entire final, if not half, then third of the game, in what is normally a very bright, vibrant, and beautiful sky, it's very disappointing. It is very, very disappointing. I wish they had done things a little bit differently here. But I love the characters. Sid was great. Sid's daughter was fantastic. We love her. I love Jill. I love Joshua. I wish the ending was a little bit less vague. You know, I think it leaves a lot of questions up in the air, and now we know we're not going to get the answers because they decided not to put any of the DLC as post-game. I love a post-game DLC. I love to see, whether it's a month later or 10 years later, where things have kind of progressed to. That's my favorite kind of DLC, is one that picks up after the story. Upset we're not getting one. We're probably not going to see any more of this world, which is also kind of upsetting, because I think there's a good foundation here to tell more stories. A prequel would be interesting, maybe set in the time of the super advanced humans who had flying ships and things. That could be fun. But a sequel set in a world, I mean, it's a Final Fantasy game, so it might sound strange, but a world without magic, because that's how this game wraps up. We go to Origin, we defeat Ultima, we have our final wish, and we just get rid of magic entirely. It'd be interesting to see a world where these characters and these events are viewed as kind of like an old legend. We know from the end credits scene that is how people in the future view this. When they're talking about Clives and magic and dominance, the two little boys, their mom is like, oh, you kids, and you're reading of fantasy books that aren't real. But it's like, that's interesting. But we're not going to get that. And that's sort of, I think, maybe with Final Fantasy VII, there's the knowledge that it'll never be over. You know, it's like, we're going to finish the remake trilogy, and hopefully it has a strong ending. I'm hoping that it finishes on a really high note. But even if it doesn't, Final Fantasy VII is their most popular Final Fantasy game. It is a franchise unto itself. There will always be more Final Fantasy VII. This is wrapping up, and that's kind of nice in the sense that we have that conclusion or that finality to it. But it's also kind of sad because it feels like there's a lot here that they could do more with. I am hopeful because we've seen the price of AAA gaming balloon. And the problem with Square Enix is that in order to make their money back on the amount of money they invest in these games, they've got to make a lot of money back, right? And unfortunately, Final Fantasy is just not the quadruple A game in terms of sales that I think Square wants it to be or thinks it can be. It seems like they're always falling just short of expectations because even if the game sells incredibly well, most people aren't playing Final Fantasy. Most people are playing Fortnite, and I don't want Fortnite Final Fantasy. So one of the things that I'm hoping over the next 5-10 years of game development is that AI becomes useful for developers to speed up and decrease costs of development. And I know that people right now are still very weary of AI, understandably, but there are things that AI can do that I think are perfect for it. We've talked about in this series how in 7, they used AI to synchronize mouth movements for all of the different regions' voiceover. So instead of having someone, either you do the Japanese and then you just throw the English on it and it doesn't match, which is what a lot of games have historically done, or you pay people to painstakingly do like the lip sync to the voice lines. And that has a lot of cost and a lot of time to development. I think that's a perfect job for AI. I think that's one of those things where you're not stealing other people's artwork to create these massive libraries to generate art for you. It's like, no, that's a wonderful example of what AI can do, where you can have it just like, okay, match the words to the lips. You've saved $1 million. Probably not that much, but you get what I'm saying. I'm hoping we get to a point where tools like that can be used to accelerate game development so we can get these big games that can make their ROI, so we can get more of them. If this game cost half as much to develop, but sold just as well as it did, I'd imagine we would be getting more DLCs for it, or Final Fantasy VII 2 would have been greenlit already, because you could reuse a lot of the assets. That saves you a lot of money if you're just making like a sequel. I don't know. We've gone off on a tangent now. Do I think this is a good game? Yes, I do. I'm looking forward to getting it and playing through it again on Steam in the future. Probably not immediately after it launches on Steam, but at some point in the future I'll play through it on PC. It's a lot of fun. I like what they did with the combat here. I like the balance of 7 Remake and Rebirth a little bit more, where it is that same sort of action-style combat, but it has those elements of hitting X to slow the game right on down and think about what you want to do. Go through your list of all your commands. They're always available to you in there. I prefer that to this, but this was good and this was fun when you really got down to it. When you really felt like you were like mastering it and you were getting the dodges right and you're blasting off all your abilities. That is where this game is at its best. And that is what I love about this game. I love the characters. I love Joshua. I'm still sad about how this ends with him. Allegedly. I don't know. He wrote the book at the end, but is that just Clive continue to do that thing where he takes on dead people's names? You know, he became Sid. Did he just become Joshua and write the book down, or like ghost write it in his brother's name? That he's the Phoenix. He's supposed to rise again. It breaks my heart, but maybe it's metaphorical. And Clive is the rising again of the Phoenix. It doesn't matter. It doesn't. Him and Jill presumably end up together. Hopefully, they're both alive at the end of the game. I mean, he's on a beach falling asleep, but I think we can assume he survives. I'd love to know more. That's kind of my only position right now. Is I'm done with this game, and I'm glad this game is done. I feel like this game, especially with the DLC, had just the right amount of content. I don't care so much for the linearity of the world. I like the open world from Rebirth a whole lot more. Or the linearity in Remake worked a lot better for it because of the story that was being told. You're in this cramped, closed-in, oppressive city that, you know, you're going on a very linear story. And then with Rebirth, you know, you're outside in the world and the world opens up to you. And I think those two games both do very different things, but they do them perfectly. This game doesn't. This game says, look, we've got a big open world, but it's not. It's a series of very tight hallways with slightly wider rooms every so often. I wish this game had been an open world. Apparently, a lot of the budget went into icon fights. Again, that's probably something that AI could help with. I don't want AI generated, like randomly generated environments, unless you're just randomly generating an environment and then taking the time to go in there and meticulously adjust it to be something wonderful and fun to explore, like Rebirth was. So I wish this game had the open world of Rebirth. I wish it had a little bit more of the sort of strategy of Rebirth, but I understand they were going for a different thing with combat, and that is okay. I wish that I knew there was going to be something more, but I think, or just a little bit more finality on their story. I am not a fan. A lot of people will say they're a fan of games that end with a question mark. I'm not. I don't like stories that end with a question mark. I want to see that moment of, you know, cut ahead a year or 2 or 3 or 10, and they are You know, he's older, Jill's older. It's 30 seconds of the two of them on a porch with, like, their kid named Joshua, and Torgal is asleep and completely gray, and it's like the world is good and everything is better. They gave us a real vague ending instead. I didn't care for that. I mean, it technically tells us that, oh, hey, the world's okay, but, like, I'm not invested in the world. That's what it is. It took me a second to process my thoughts and get to this. I don't care about the world of Final Fantasy XVI as much, or really even remotely as close to as much as I care about the characters. What they gave us after the end credits was a bit of finality about the world. It's like, look, Clive, his wish worked, magic was removed, the world is at peace. I don't care about the world. I wanted a little bit more character stuff. I wanted to see how the characters turned out years later. And they didn't give us that, but I do like the game. If I had to give it a rating out of 5, I would give it 4, maybe 3.5. The problem is when you say 3.5, I think anything below 4, people are like, oh, so it's bad. No. 0 stars is bad. 1 star has something redeeming about it, you know? I feel like maybe 3 3/4. 3.75 stars. It would have gotten to 4 stars, or 5 stars even, if the world had been a little less linear. Okay, a little bit less linear. It had not gotten so gloomy for the last third. I know they're setting up for the state of the world, but it's too gloomy in a world that was once beautiful. And it makes the last third of the game really just miserable to play through. If we'd gotten that finality of character instead of finality of world, I would have preferred that. And if the combat had been slightly different. Those are the 4... I can't really say the combat's bad or criticize it too harshly either, because I do think it's good combat. I think it's not for me, possibly. But that is Final Fantasy XVI. We are done with that. And when we resume in the future with a new Final Fantasy game, it's either going to be the first game, the Pixel Remaster. We might do 7 with the mod that adds voice, like dialogue. That could be fun. Or we're going to go back and finish 15. Because around this time last year, I played 15. I think it might have been in April of last year, possibly May. With the idea of, like, can I finish this in a month? Can I start 15 and finish it in a month before 16 comes out? And I'm glad I didn't try. I think I could do that Let's Play much better now. So I don't know which one we're going to do first, but I hope you folks all join me for the adventure. Until then, thank you folks all for watching. Thank you to the channel members who have watched, some of you, the entire series live. I've recorded these as live streams, which has been a lot of fun. And, of course, today we had HPN, we had Jake Yates and Gilliam, and GSNL, as well as Omnimus all tune in at some point. Gilliam's been with me pretty much through the whole stream. I appreciate it. We've had some fun dialogue, and a lot of these people have been here for the whole game, the whole playthrough, which has been fantastic. So thank you for tuning in and watching Gilliam. And thank you to everyone who's watched the series. God bless each and every single one of you. And I will see y'all later. Goodbye.